Hey there, DC folks. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here on the final day of Pro Tour Los Angeles weekend doing my recap of my weekend as it went for me. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Thanks for tuning in to an on-location go again. That's right, I am here on the main stage at Pro Tour Los Angeles on Sunday at roughly 4 o'clock. Actually, they just got done doing the announcements for the top 8 for the Living Legend Battle Hardened. So we are definitely sunsetting the weekend. And what I wanted to do was give my take, my perspective on the weekend. Also, do keep in mind that this is a live event. They're still doing announcements and stuff, so we may have to pause from time to time for that. But like I said, I wanted to go through my experience through the weekend. So I arrived very, very late Thursday, so effectively my interaction with this was all Friday. Now, when I got off of the plane on Thursday night, the Twitter sphere was going nuts because they had, of course, done the keynote announcing all of the new stuff and all of the new heroes, and there's plenty to talk about there, but if we get into that, we're not going to get into the event stuff, so we'll definitely wrap back on that on a later time. Right, so moving into Friday, I only did one event on Friday. The reason was I had that commoner panel at 5 p.m. that night, and I wanted to make sure that I had proper time to get myself in the right space and set up for that so we could do a good job there. Right, so I was in the noon commoner event. This was just a standard bronze ticket, so like the lowest entry level there, and we ended up having 13 players in that event, so relatively small. I went 3-1 in that event. I was playing my Bravo deck, which is also what I played for the whole weekend on Commoner. And like I said, I went 3-1. I lost at the top table to an Ira, very well played Ira. Very similar to the deck that won the Queenstown gold foil. He'd made a couple of his own, I think, very smart decisions in his deck. So very nicely done, and congratulations there. So in that event, we put 3 Iras in the top 4. The other being, of course, my Bravo. I didn't see the final standings. I assume I went second place, but either way, it doesn't really matter because it's the same level of ticket payout. And then we went into, so I went back, kind of got prepped, and then we had the Build Your Community with Commoner panel that Travis and I did together. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to the Portland crew, both the DC crew as well as Travis's crew on the Fab Foundry team. It's really good having friends who are there to support you. I will say that, right? So relatively low attended from the overall masses. It was roughly maybe 20 to 20, maybe slightly over 20 people for the panel. But I thought we had a good time talking about it. There were some great questions from folks. There was one individual from the local area who was looking for what they could do. We had a couple other folks from other areas as well. So I thought that went really well. Unfortunately, that was not recorded or live streamed. Maybe fortunately, I suppose, depending on the presentation. But I thought Travis did a really good job, and I was really happy that he joined me on that. So again, thank you all again to the Portland folks for sitting and listening to stuff that you already kind of knew, and you're really just there to support us. So again, thank you, and it's always good to have friends, right? So that takes us into Saturday. So the big event for me for the weekend, I was not playing in, as many of you know, I was just planning on doing side events, which I did. The overall plan was for me to really go hard into the Commoner Gold Foil event, which was at 10 o'clock. Now, the long story short on that one was it did not go very well for me. I lost my first 2 rounds. The first one was up against an Icelander, which I was on my Bravo. I'm very well favored into that. But, things happen. I had a couple all-red hands, and that's all she wrote. So I took the loss there, and then I ran up into a really, really great game against a Decimator Dorinthea, and it came down to the very last turn. I mean, obviously last turn because it was over, but I ended up being fatigued out on that. And it was very, very close. Could have gone either way, but again, I drew an all-red. I had momentum, but then I drew an all-red hand and lost momentum. That was all she wrote there. So I ended up going 2-2 in that event before I decided to drop on that and go into the noon Blitz event. The main reason I dropped on that was because pricing was really, really, really bad for that event. That's one thing I want to talk about kind of at the end on the goods from the weekends, the bads from the weekends, and some stuff that could be improved. The 12 o'clock Blitz, I also ended up going 2-2 in. The event ran really, really, really slow, so I ended up conceding my final round actually to DC team member. That's right, the C-Max way. So congratulations, and she played a ton of Blitz this weekend also on Quicksilver Prodigy. So that was pretty awesome to see. I went into the Shapeshifter Blitz. I had really no idea what this was going to be going into it. Sorry, not Blitz, it was a sealed, excuse me. So they give you 6 packs, all from different sets. Our sets were, let's see if I should have wrote this down. It was Outsiders, Everfest, Dynasty, Heavy Hitters, and some other stuff. Either way, Kodachis were legal because of Outsiders, and that was basically the theme of the tournament. Kodachis in that are just the go-to weapon. Again, so if you're not familiar, because I wasn't, so it's a fair question, Shapeshifter, you can play any hero that's legal in the sets as a token, I should say, as a token in the sets that they release, or that they give you, and you can play any token weapons, plus anything else that you pull. So basically everyone defaulted to Kodachis. I saw a couple Kodachi Centauris, I saw a Kodachi... I was on Dromai myself, but again, I was running Kodachi and a Saber, and then I later went to Kodachi Spiderbite. Because again, it's, you don't know, in case you get the blue 0, it doesn't shut you, or don't get the blue 0, it doesn't shut you down. So my take on that is I will probably not be doing that again. It was a good experience. I played all 4 rounds, ended up going 3-1 in it, so that was very good for me. But it was kind of chaotic, and I think not a super great format, at least if Kodachis are in there. So that was my take on that. I then entered myself into the 5 p.m. That was the energy potion event. I really just entered in that. I played 1 round, actually borrowed a CC deck in order to do it because I did not bring a CC deck with me this weekend. So we did that and got my thing. Lost my first round because I have no idea what I'm doing on the deck I borrowed. Thank you, Anthony, for giving me your Dromai. And I went from there. And then we went into the Team Blitz event, so 4 rounds, so it was with Matt and Jeremy, and we dropped our first one. I won my next 3. Oh, so we dropped our first one, we got the bye, and then I won my next 2, but our team overall ended up going 3-1, because remember, you have to get best of 3. So I had a great time with that, but man, Saturday was a long day of Feb. I was also hoping to shoot this cast that we're shooting right now last night, but by the time I made it back to my hotel, the Moxie, basically a club. It turns into a club at about 6 p.m. and I tried to get it set up, and the noise, even in my hotel room on the 24th floor, the noise of like the was too much, and I wasn't even going to try. So called it a day, went to bed, and figured we'd try and shoot it on the stage, and honestly, I think it's kind of cool. And then Sunday, to wrap it up, I had 1 ticket remaining that I wanted to use for the 11 o'clock Blitz. The Blitz on Saturday, I played Briar, and then the Blitz, Team Blitz, I played Briar as well. Did very well on her, but today I wanted to play Quicksilver Prodigy, my deck there, because I had a lot of fun with that. I just wanted to have a nice, chill, fun day. Ended up going 2-2 today, lost a tight one on Emperor, and then I had no chance against a Prism, and other than that, I won out. So good stuff there. All right, so stuff that went very, very well this weekend, and this is where I've been peppering in some pictures and editing at this point already. But the hall was, when I first walked into the hall on Friday, I was like, oh man, this is not big enough. But should we say it was a grower, not a shower, right? So it was very, very long and not super wide, and they also had it divided down the middle so that the riffraff essentially was on one side, and then the Pro Tour was on the other side of the event, kind of with the vendors down the middle. I thought it was a very good way actually to divide it up to give people space. But again, when you first walked in, it looked small, but it certainly is not a small venue. So great venue there. What went really well overall was the tickets and all stuff like that. They've kind of got a plan, and they've kind of got a system with that at this point. Things that did not go, and it's not that they went bad, right? But things that did not go well overall was the side events were not being super efficiently run. And there's 2 complaints I have on the weekend. One was what I just said, the side events weren't being super efficiently run. There was a lot of lag time, not only between events, but also rounds starting, and then rounds were going way longer than the 35 minutes for Blitz or limited, whatever it may be. And they just weren't quite staying on top of it. And then at the end of the day, the judges were starting to get pretty snippy. And I don't really blame them, because I think both of these just drill back to, I think there was a lot of challenges in terms of the project management of how the whole thing worked, right? The judges had to run from wherever they were in the area to the front to get the thing started, and then bring the information back and print it out. And the pairings weren't always visible, so they had to run back again. And I had an interaction with a judge later on in the day where they were not super nice to me. It was fine, but again, I think it's the whole thing of product. I think that there's some flow issues that Star City could work out to make things run smoother. The main events I heard ran very, very, very well in terms of smoothness, but the side events definitely had some room for improvement. Again, you're running 35-minute rounds on most of this with setup, and a lot of these were going like 3 hours for like 4-round events. Well over 3 hours for 4-round events. The noon Blitz, the 1400 Shapeshifter that we were in had 3 hours to get done before the Energy Potion event, and almost like 90% of the people were in the Energy Potion event. And the thing moved just insanely, horribly slow, and basically nobody got to play their 4th round, which felt really bad. The other big contention point for me for the weekend was the pricing on the Commoner Gold Foil event, and I think this is a topic for another cast, all in all, because so it was a silver ticket entry, which is a $35 equivalent. You got no tickets for entering, and you got no tickets unless you were in top 8, so only top 8 priced out. And they had 200 slots available, and their top 8 pricing did not throttle based on the number of people. It didn't matter how many people they had entry, the top 8 pricing stayed the same. So that makes it very interesting to me, because I don't think that's tracking with what we would expect an LGS to do. So I'm not sure if it's just a luxury of these larger events. And this was not just a me thing. I took feedback from multiple people that they were very disappointed, because it also was not advertised beforehand what the pricing would be. So doing only a top 8 pricing that's mostly surprise, and then the gold foil, of course, which is of course supplied by LSS. This was a very high profit event for them, and I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth that there was not better pricing to that end. So I think there's a whole different cast there on how come Star City can get away with it at an event like this, but if an LGS were to try to do that, they would get eviscerated on the internet. I think that's an interesting dichotomy in the expectations, but maybe it's the fact that just folks have paid to fly and they're just okay with it. But the hunt for tickets around this place is pretty real, especially right now, sunsetting, people trying to get those last tickets. So again, I went into the negatives of the weekend, but again, I want to make sure that we close with the fact that this was a very, very, very positive weekend, right? James made himself available every single day for folks to come and meet him in line. We had the artists there as well for folks. Artist Alley is always popular. The vendors were super great. I went and I talked to the vast majority of them. And again, people are generally in a very, very good mood. I played a lot of games on too many games. I played too many games on Saturday, and I only ran into like one case where the individual was just non-interactive, and that doesn't even mean they were in a bad mood or it was a negative experience. One out of probably 15, 16, maybe even more than that, of someone who just didn't want to interact. That's a pretty positive atmosphere when you really put it in context of this gaming. So everyone seems to be in a pretty great mood overall. I think the weekend was a complete success, and this is coming from someone who wasn't involved in, I did not play the Calling, I did not play the Battle Hardened, I did not play the Pro Tour, obviously, right? So anyway, that's my take, kind of wrapping up the weekend. So if you were here, it was great to meet you. I did not even bother writing down all the names and taking pictures of all the folks who I met, because there were so many awesome people that we met. And then again, I want to give a special thank you to the DC team crew especially, as well as the Portland crew, for hanging out and making us all feel like we had a team and always had somebody to go talk to if you had a moment in between your rounds, which was very frequent. So as they announced the 3 p.m. sealed, I'm going to shut this down and say thanks for joining, and go Commando. 2, 1. Hey there, my...
After 7 rounds of Living Legend, proving these heroes are unsafe at any speed, we have your top 8. In first place, with 7 wins, Kevin Briar.